What happens when men get fed up with dating, when they realize marriage is a scam and they don't want to enter into that government contract where, their finances can be taken, their children can be taken? What happens when men walk away? Well, who's left standing there? The women. Those strong and independent, I don't need no man women. Well, turns out they might be noticing a little bit. I don't think they really understand why it's happening, but they're noticing because you have ones that can't get a date, are alone, can't find a relationship. And you have the other ones that are trying to turn the situationship because they're, dating or hooking up with a guy way above their level, trying to turn that into a relationship. And of course, that's not going to happen. So, where are we with this? We're going to talk about it. Hi, welcome back to Far From Eden. Thank you guys for having patience with me, for not making a video yesterday. Our little mascot, my boss, the producer, the everything, little Lola, she is so much better now. I don't know what the deal was, but apparently she needs her bougie food, and that's the magic. So thank God she's sleeping right now, but there are treats on the couch. So I will entice her at some point in this video so you guys can see her. Anyway, back to the issue at hand. I have found a little tidbit that is just, I don't know, made my mischievous side very happy. The word spinster is making a bit of a comeback. Now, I don't know how it got started, but because the men are not having it, or the women are shooting above their level, women are not finding the relationships that they now say they want. So there's a word for a woman who is getting up in age and has not yet found a husband, and that is spinster. So I have found some answers to the question, why are you a spinster, from 1889, and they read like TikToks. It's like TikToks from 1889. Women haven't changed. Women have been the same throughout history. Our nature is unchanging. Now, the way we can express that has changed based on how society is and what society allows. But we're the same, you guys are going to see. And then I have some modern day TikToks to compare and see what the lady folk are thinking about this whole spinster situation. I'm sorry, I'm enjoying it too much. It's just, I'm enjoying it too much. I shouldn't be so happy with people's misery, but we brought it on ourselves. We've done this. We've brought it on ourselves. We need to, the next step is the next step. Realizing that, let's listen to our first lady from modern day TikTok. Okay. Let's get her going here. TikTok has been acting up for me today, so hopefully it'll be good.
No one wants to date me. No one wants to date me. It's official. I've come to an age where I'm undesirable. No one wants me. And here's the thing. At first I was sad and woe is me. No one wants to date me. No one wants to be with me. But I'm unwanted. I'm undesirable. And then I thought to myself, wait, this is a superpower. Because I'm undesirable, because no one wants to date me and be with me, I don't give a fuck. I don't have to please anyone. I don't have to act a certain way. I don't have to be a certain person. I can just be me, say anything to them within reason. I'm not going to be rude, of course. I'm going to be kind. But I don't have to try to impress anyone. It's kind of freeing. Woohoo! Single and wanted girl.
Okay. Okay. So what did we have there? We had honesty in the beginning of that, where she's like, I was sad, etc. And then we had, but then I realized that's the cope. That's the, here's the situation. I don't like it. I don't think I can change it. So I'm going to reframe it so I don't seem pathetic. That is what's happening here. And it's what was happening in 1889. You won't believe it. Okay. Well, first of all, get the right page. That would be helpful. Okay. This was in Upworthy. It was published in Upworthy. Okay. 12/8/24 last year. In 1889, a British newspaper asked women why they were spinsters. And the responses were incredible. Okay. Spinster was one of the worst insults a person could hurl at a woman in the Victorian era. Typically, a spinster was a single woman who was childless, unmarried, and had few prospects. Spinsters were the subject of cruel jokes and thought of as sad, lonely women left on the shelf. Yeah. And here's the thing. We have to realize, just put it in our minds, not to be nasty, but why were they left on the shelf? And I learned today what you are known as after you're known as a spinster. And it's not, that's the insult. And I think what they were shaming was that you were not the type of woman. You know, you were lacking in character. The term spinster dates back to the 1300s and refers to a woman who spun yarn for a living. This was often the profession of single women because they didn't have the resources to purchase expensive materials. So they were relegated to spinning wool. In 1889, I mean, look, they're girl bosses. Why weren't they so happy? Shouldn't they have been happier than the poor married women? If you're thinking with feminism logic, the spinsters were the free ones. Like, they should be like the cool ones, right? In 1889, the editor of, I'm sorry for the name of this, okay. In 1889, the editor of Tit Bits, a British weekly magazine, asked single women to write in and explain why they aren't married. The woman with the best response would be featured in the paper and win a prize. So they're going to be asked, why are you a spinster, right? And just like that modern day lady in the TikTok we just saw, well, we're not going to say because nobody wants me or because I'm unfit. I'm too disagreeable. Okay. Let's see what the first woman said. Oh, we're going to go on about the article. The request was a response to an earlier piece the magazine had run asking male readers, why are you a bachelor? The editor received a ton of letters, and they weren't the cordial responses we've come to expect from women of the era. Oh, this one. Nope. They were smart, funny, and sharp retorts that showed there were a lot of women out there who were single for a reason. Single by choice. Yes, single for a reason. They were sharp retorts. This is the thing. They weren't expecting the women to be like that. Because people don't accept that we are the same. We've been the same throughout history. We were the same in the garden talking to the snake. Nothing has changed in that way. The editor originally only planned to post one response, but instead he ran 21 responses and gave each one an equal piece of the prize. Each woman earned 5 shillings, which is about $25 today. I thought women couldn't earn money. I thought women couldn't have money. Lies. Here are 11 of the responses. The first one is a reference to the tide of American women who flocked to England to marry into the aristocracy in the era. So the number one response out of the 11 we're going to talk about, there's always a title and then what she said. It's the damn Yankees. Because I'm an English lady and the Americans monopolize the market. That was Miss Jessie Davies. And now let's go back to modern TikTok.
Jumbo, those things are supposed to happen.
My goodness.
No.
Why
Do
is she
I
talking again?
have a home? Do I own a home?
Sorry about that. Like I said, TikTok.
Do I have a relationship and like a significant other to feel connected to and love and all that stuff? No. Do I have any kids that I have like a family with and all that fulfillment and mumbo jumbo those things are supposed to have? No. Do I have a home? Do I own a home that I can do whatever I want with and make it my own and not be a slave to these insane rent prices? No. Do I have a career that I can put my energy to and feel fulfilled and have like this nice savings account and financial stability and freedom and all that stuff? No. Do I have any gray hairs? No. Do I have a
Okay. That's just saying all the things and then acting like you're happy about it and it's not a big deal. These are cries for help. I mean, cries for help. Okay, back to 1889. She's a wild horse. Like she says, like the Mustang of the prairie that roams unfettered, tossing his head in utter disdain at the approach of the lasso, which, if once round his neck, proclaims him captive. So I find it more delightful to tread on the verge of freedom and captivity than to allow the snarer to cast around me the matrimonial lasso. That was Miss Sarah Kennerly. They were associating marriage with, control and oppression. But once again, I think that was a cope. They're trying to say, well, I don't want it anyway. Ma'am, come on. Please, you guys, I hope you don't believe any of that. We're not telling the truth. Okay. She's a self-made woman. This is 1889. Because I have other professions open to me in which the hours are shorter, the work more agreeable, and the pay possibly higher. That was Miss Florence Watts. Interesting that she would say such a thing when supposedly we had no freedom, no money, and no any of this. So what you're saying is, if that was possible for Miss Florence Watts to have the professional options and make more money and etc., then why were most women choosing to marry, choosing to have families? If it's so great, Miss Florence Watts, then why were so many of them wanting a family? The thing that I think that women are realizing now, especially millennials, the women that are getting into their early 40s, right? So I think some maybe mid 40s for the older millennials. I think they're realizing, like, wait a second. Where's my family? Where's my man? And why won't anyone date me? And it's because of you. Like, it's because of us. We did it. We've pushed you away. We've put unbelievable standards on you. We've supported laws that are completely unfair against you. We've done that. It's frustrating. Okay. She's rare china because, like a piece of rare china, I am breakable and mendable, but difficult to match. That was Miss S.A. Roberts. Lady, that made no sense. They're just going to say whatever, but it really means I didn't want that anyway. Baloney. Baloney. Trust me. We want you guys. I know you're like, I don't think so. Yes, we do. Like petulant children, we have misbehaved and said horrible things and acted out and been selfish. And then we go, well, where'd everybody go? Where'd they all go? Yeah, we ran them off. But the thing that we all need to realize is that women didn't think you'd actually leave. We thought we could treat you like this, the way we have, support these laws that you're completely disadvantaged. We thought we could do that and still have what we want. Because guess what? That's what's been happening generation after generation. We've already discussed on this channel in the 1950s how men were in the rat race, keeping up with the Joneses, all for their corporation that they worked for, the company they worked for, and the wife over there. They were squeezed in between. And women got the full benefit of all of it. They had dishwashers and washing machines, and home life was easy. It was easy to be a homemaker. You send the kids off to school, super easy compared to what the men were doing. So they had soft life. Gen X, we can do this, we can do that. You know, women worked really hard in everything they did and got burned out, but still the man was the one that at the end of the day, it's on him. And we can treat him however. He's not going to leave. And if he treats us bad, we'll just take his kids and divorce him. But as the generations have gone on, the women are finally now having the consequences of acting out and then looking around, and there's no one to marry, to date, to have a relationship with. Men are done. Men are done. They're not having it. They don't want disagreeable ones. All right, one more before we go back to modern day. Only Shakespeare could describe her. My reason for being a spinster is answered in a quotation from The Taming of the Shrew. Of all the men alive, I never yet beheld that special face which I could fancy more than any other. Miss Lizzie Moore. Well, I mean, I think that there were men who just didn't want to handle the mess that she was, that shrew. Okay, let's see if we can find any modern day shrew. I swear this one is just so similar to the ones I've read here. I swear I'm not making this up. It's like, it's so similar. You're like, oh, sure, Aaron, you just made it. It's crap. I'm blown away by it. Like I said, also mischievously, like, we haven't changed. Doesn't this prove our nature? Doesn't this prove it? I've been trying to convince some of the men's rights people who just think, you know, oh, this is all societal, like made us this way. No, we are this way. I know I am one. I have a woman brain. I have the emotions. You know, I have to quell the things that are, you know, the rebelliousness. I have to hold my tongue. I have to, well, I don't have to work on the empathy thing. Like that comes naturally, but also is like, it's not all of me. I know what our nature is. I almost said the double word that YouTube doesn't like. All right.
I saw this comment, you know, and I thought, but young people do want family. A lot of old women who opted out of having children and who have opted out of relationships with men want family. We just don't want family in the patriarchal traditional structures. We don't want family that sacrifices us and expects us to be miserable slaves to men.
What?
And to the children that they impregnate us with and then force us to bear. As an old child-free Gen Xer who never married and has been a strong feminist my whole life, I want family. Always wanted family, but I've had to create
She doesn't want family. Unless unless it's, I want to have this. Because in order to have the children that they impregnate us with, which is infuriating that she said it that way, how are you going to have a family? How are you going to look at those children? And there are his children, by the way. Completely unfit. Completely unfit. I just read the shrew one. I can only imagine your all's reactions. Please tell me in the chat. Is this a wife? Is this a mother? Could she ever be? And also, one of these days we have to discuss how does one of us get this way? To where that's the view of what marriage is and what a family is, that it's like a chokehold. I mean, I want to ask her about her family. Anyway, let's get back to your shrewdom.
Create family so that I didn't have to be locked into the patriarchal structures that would have destroyed my mental health and my happiness and my freedom and my bodily autonomy.
Okay. Would have destroyed her mental health. Well, thank goodness that's all intact, because we wouldn't want her mental health to suffer. We wouldn't want her to be a little off kilter. That would just be a terrible thing. All right. Number 6, ready for action. Because I am like the rifle volunteers, always ready, but not yet wanted. Miss Ann Thompson. That's the saddest one. That's the most honest one. I've told you guys time and time again, we don't like to look bad, right? That's why we go with this whole, I didn't want that anyway. It's bad and you're bad. And so what do? It's so childlike. Not wanted, right? Not chosen. So we're going to call other women pick-me's as if that's not what we want. And we're going to start to insult those men that didn't want to choose us and insult the whole patriarchy because we're not chosen. It's like a child. Well, I didn't want to play anyway. Really? Then why are you standing here? It's just a lie. It's embarrassing. We should be embarrassed. Okay. Again, like I said, insulting you guys. Number 7, no need for a beast. I do not care to enlarge my menagerie of pets. And I find the animal man less docile than a dog, less affectionate than a cat, and less amusing than a monkey. Like I said, that was Miss Sparrow, by the way. They will insult you because you didn't choose them. And how can they think that we believe them? Like, does anybody believe them? Or they just pretend to believe each other? Or other women pretend? Like, does anybody believe these people? I don't think so. All right. We'll marry when John can afford it. This is an interesting story. So when John can afford it. John, whom I loved, was supplanted in his office by a girl. I thought women couldn't work back then. So a woman took John's job. Okay. He was supplanted in his office by a girl who was doing the same amount of work he did for half the salary he received. He could not earn sufficient to keep a home, so went abroad. Consequently, I am still a spinster. Miss E. Jones. A woman took his job and did it for half the price. Couple things. First of all, seems like women can have a career. Probably another spinster. Because that's why she would be working, right? And any wonder wages have gone down when there's more employees? The companies can just go, I have so many to choose from. I can just pay the lowest amount, and whoever will work for the lowest amount of money gets the job. And it seems like there was a whole demographic that really had a big part in that. And we just read one of them. Okay, number 9. Men are deceitful. Because men, like 3-cornered tarts, are deceitful. They are pleasing to the eye, but on closer acquaintanceship prove hollow and stale, consisting chiefly of puff, with a minimum of sweetness and an unconquerable propensity to disagree with one. No, that's not how men are, but if you're not chosen by them, you might insult them like that. It's sort of like, what's that thing again? Projecting. It didn't sound like she was talking about a man. It sounded like she might have been accidentally looking in the mirror. We got to go back to modern day for a second.
No one wants to date me. No one wants to date me.
That has been so
No
crazy.
one wants to date me.
I cannot get it to do what I want it to do. Bear with me. There we go. Okay. This one. I want you.
So I got a fun piece of trivia for all my single ladies over 30. If you've been calling yourself a spinster, stop. It's actually just inaccurate. My friends and I discovered this when we were talking the other day. Fun enough, the term spinster actually only applies to women aged 23 to 26. Cute. And if you're older than that, that actually means you're a thornback. A thornback. What is a thornback, you might ask? This is a thornback.
Ew.
This is what you become when you're single over 30. Honestly, I can't even be mad. That fish looks so unbothered, it feels like the right energy to channel for your 30s. Where are my other thornbacks at? I think we need to get a group together and make sweatshirts.
Yeah. A group of thornbacks. I think it's funny that the women folk are looking at this type of information. It means they know. They know they're alone. And they're concerned about how it looks. And they've got to put on some kind of PR campaign to make it like, oh no, it's totally fine. Let's make sweatshirts. Okay. Number 10, there's no way off the marriage toboggan. Because matrimony is like an electric battery. When you once join hands and can't let go, however much it hurts, and as when embarked on a toboggan slide, you must go to the bitter end, however much it bumps. Miss Laura Backs. Yeah, sweetie, that's called life. Yeah, you're on it no matter what. She does not want to be a ride or die because it's going to get hard. Lady, life gets hard. Life gets hard. She seems like she's got some kind of a symptom that makes everything go away and be better. Well, that doesn't last all your life. The fact that she thinks marriage is going to be tough and you're like tied to this person, that's a good thing because life is tough. Don't you want to be tied to a person who loves you and is in it with you no matter what? That would be a far better attitude to have, I think. But how somehow they're able to think these things and say these things, to think that marriage is some, horrible sled ride, right? Where are they getting that? Because most of the women seem to want it. Do you know what I think? I think a lot of these women became suffragettes. I think they became feminists. They're perfect. Or the powers that be use these women, use their bitterness, their resentment, because that's what you're hearing here, to push the movement. Because they're mad about what they can't have. And I think they want to punish that. Do you know how angry women get at me for the things I say, call me a pick-me, this, that, or the other, they're bitter and resentful. I can't just have an opinion. So let's have our last beautiful modern shrew. Okay. So as I was saying about resentment, stuff like that, I know what I'm talking about. And here's an example.
Does anyone ever get dumped and then after 20 minutes of complete and utter sadness, you're filled with rage? But not rage towards your ex, more like a rage towards society that makes you feel like shit for being single at 34. So I just got dumped at like 6:30. Here it is now, 7:30.
I'm sorry. Had to stop her for a second. What in society is making her feel bad for being single? Doesn't society celebrate all that? Isn't that what's celebrated? So what is it that she's feeling? Why does she think society looks at her this way for being single? Because inside, something in us, almost like we were, thoughtfully made by a creator, something in us knows what we should do. Something in us knows the right order of things. The same is true for you guys. There's something written on our hearts. The way society is, wouldn't she feel bad and a failure if she was in a relationship, if she had allowed herself to be, strapped to that toboggan? It's very telling. When you pay attention, you pay close attention, the confessions are obvious. At least to me. She doesn't realize it. She thinks society is putting pressure on her to be in a relationship, which in reality, society does everything it can to prevent relationships, prevent families, etc. So why would she be so sad? And where would that pressure be coming from that, she should be in a relationship and she should have a family? All good questions. What do you guys think?
Still sad, but I'm sad and plotting my revenge.
Plotting her revenge. She doesn't mean it literally. She doesn't mean she's gonna do a thing or what have you, but that's where the brain goes. I think that the rise of feminism in the 1800s probably came from a lot of this attitude. I'm going to tear down the family. I'm going to tear down the patriarchy because if I can't have it, neither can you. Maybe. Okay, our last lady from 1889, or woman or shrew, however you'd like to refer to her. Number 11, waiting for a duke. D-O-O-K. I don't know, linguists, Rojas, our resident linguist, a bunch of you guys are. Dear Mr. Titbits, been a cook with 14 pund 5/10 1/2 savings in the bank. This is really poorly spelled and poorly written. I naturally looks down on policemen, soldiers, and cetera. So I am waiting for an earl or a duke. Oh, it is duke. She just can't spell. Or something of that sort to purpose for my and art. I feel like she must be Irish. And that's why I am a spinster, Miss Annie Newton. Take on an Irish accent. It sounded like an Irish accent with the way she was spelling. Anyway, I don't want to get married anyway. Why can't we just get on board? I'll tell you what, it's much more oh my God, I can't speak after reading her. It's a much happier life when you decide to be agreeable when you decide to be humble and grateful and not resentful and bitter and just wanting it all your way, which is what these ladies want. It's not fun to be a shrew, no matter how much the shrews would have us believe it is. It's just not. It's just not. But the moral of the story is we haven't changed. We haven't changed. And honestly, men should have walked away sooner. I'm not saying maybe 1889, but the men need to understand and accept that this is who women are and that we do better when society is a certain way. This isn't it. So keep walking away, because guess what? They're noticing, and eventually they're going to straighten up. I don't know when. Could be 200 years, but they will. Because at the end of the day, they want a family, they want a relationship, and they want, I know you guys are not going to believe me, but they want to be desired by men. They do. And when they're not, well, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. They're not graceful about it. Anyways, I love you guys. Thanks for joining me on this one. I hope you had a giggle too, if you can, because listen, if you're going to laugh or cry, laugh. But also, protect your peace. Feed your souls. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.